Good morning, everyone. The part 2 of the chapter Chemistry in Everyday Life is in the next part. Earlier, we have discussed about the drug enzyme interaction, and we have studied about the drug enzyme interaction. But in this part, the second topic is there is one more way by which the drug interact with the enzyme. This is the one way by which the drug interact with the enzyme, and this is the second way by which the drug interact with the enzyme. So in this way, the drug act in an another way as well. They bind themselves to the different site in the enzyme, and that site is known as the allosteric site. In this case, we have studied that drug interact with the enzyme with the help of the active site, but here the drug bind with the enzyme with the next or the different site, which is known as the allosteric site. This one is the allosteric site, this is the active site, and this one is the whole diagram for the enzyme. This is enzyme, this is the active site, and this is the allosteric site. So this bring about a change in the shape of the active site, and as a consequence of it, the substrate is not in a position to form a stable complex. Now when the drug interact with this site or with the allosteric site, because of it, the change of the active site is changes, and as a result of it, now the substrate is not able to combine with the enzyme to form a stable complex. Actually, the enzymes are, we all know very well that enzymes are highly specific in nature. So any change in its shape of the above site will inhibit the combination on with the substrate. So it does not allow. Now when the shape of the active site is changed, so enzyme does not allow the substrate to combine with itself or with the enzyme to form a complex, and this whole procedure is the binding of a drug with the allosteric site. This one is the allosteric site on the enzyme to bring about a change in its shape. So this is the second way by which the drug interact with the enzyme. Now the next topic is therapeutic action of different classes of drugs. We have different types of drugs, and these all drugs have the different action or different classes. So the first is the antacid. First type of drug is the antacid. Overproduction of acid in the stomach causes irritation and pain in our stomach when we have the hyperacidity or when we overeat. So we feel the irritation or the pain in our body. That is because of the overproduction of the acid. So in severe cases, ulcers are developed in the stomach because of the hyperacidity or hypersecretion of the acid. Ulcers are developed. Until 1970, only treatment for the acidity was administration of the antacids, and earlier we have only few antacids, that is NaHCO3, that is the sodium hydrogen carbonate, or the mixture of aluminum hydroxide or the magnesium hydroxide like MgOH2. These two are the earlier or initially used antacids. However, excessive hydrogen carbonate, when we intake excessive hydrogen carbonate, can make the stomach alkaline. When we use hydrogen carbonate, it makes our stomach alkaline and trigger the production of even more acids. So beside that, sometimes metal hydroxides are better alternatives because of being insoluble, and these do not increase the pH above the neutrality. Now these treatment control only the symptom. When we have taken the sodium hydrogen carbonate or metal hydroxides, like magnesium hydroxide or the aluminum hydroxide. So these treatment only control the symptoms and not the cause. They doesn't cure the cause, they only control the symptom. Therefore, with these metal salt, the patient cannot be treated easily. With the help of these salts, we cannot treat the patient easily. In advanced stages, ulcer become life threatening because hyperacidity, we have already discussed, it causes the ulcer. So when the ulcers become very large or in the crucial condition, they become the life threatening, and its only treatment is removal of the affected part of the stomach. We have only that time, we have only the option of the surgery. So a major breakthrough in the treatment of hyperacidity came through the discovery according to which we have discovered a new chemical, that is histamine. When we discovered the histamine, so when we scientist has taken a test with the histamine, and they proved that histamine stimulates the secretion of pepsin and hydrochloric acid in our stomach. It stimulates the secretion of the pepsin as well as the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Now there is a drug or the medicine, that is cimetidine, known as the cimetidine, was designed to prevent the interaction of histamine with the receptors present in the stomach wall. So this drug, initially we have discovered this drug, so its function is to make the interaction between the receptors which are present in the stomach wall as well as with the histamine. This is the chemical called the histamine. This is the histamine. The importance of the drug was so much. This is a very, very important drug, and it remained the largest selling drug in the world until we have discovered the new drug that is known as ranitidine. Now ranitidine is a well popularly known antacid, and it is also known as Zantac. This is also called the Zantac. So this chemical histamine is very, very important because it cured the problem of the acidity. It is and this drug is a type of an antacid. This drug is also a type of an antacid. So we can easily describe the antacid as the chemical substances which can reduce these two drugs. Either they reduce or neutralize the acidity in the stomach and raise the pH to some appropriate level. The acidity result because of the release of the excess of hydrochloric acid in our stomach. So for that, this chemical is very, very important, and this chemical is known as the histamine, which is present in the cimetidine, ranitidine, Zantac, and many other drugs which are used as a antacids. Now the another category of drug is known as the antihistamine. So the chemical which is used here is also, that is histamine. It is also responsible, this histamine is also responsible for the allergy in the body and is generally present in rich amount in the tissue of the skin, lungs, liver, and also in the blood. So histamine is also responsible for the nasal congestion. Sometimes we feel the nasal congestion when we have a sore throat. So at that time, this histamine is also responsible for the nasal congestion associated with the common cold and the allergy. So for that time, antihistamines are used to cure the effect of the histamine. So antihistamine drugs are of two types. Sometimes we use the antacids also the same drug or the same composition for the antihistamine, or sometimes we use the anti-allergic drug. Now that is the some common example for the antihistamine is that is brompheniramine. This is one type of the antihistamine drug. Brompheniramine is the one type of antihistamine drug, and other one is terfenadine. It is another type of a antihistamine drug. They both act as an antihistamine drug. They interfere with the natural action of the histamine. They both interfere the natural action of the histamine by competing with the histamine for binding site of the receptor where histamine exert its effects, and that's why they neutralize the effect of the antihistamine. Now sometimes the question arises why we don't use such type of a drug for the antacid, or why we don't use the cimetidine for the as an antihistamine. And the reason for that, we don't use this drug here or this drug here. For this we don't use that is terfenadine to cure the antacid or as an antiacid, and we can't use cimetidine as an antihistamine because anti-allergic and antacid, these are the anti-allergic and these are the antacid drugs. So the anti-allergic and antacid drugs work on the different receptor. Such type of drugs work on the receptors which are present in the wall of the stomach, and such type of drugs work on the receptors where we feel the allergic problem or where we feel the itching or the nasal congestion. So this is the reason why we can't use both the drugs for the same function. Now the next category of the drug is neurologically active drugs. Actually, our modern lifestyle increases the tension and the anxiety. Many of us have to take the sleeping pills and the other medicine to get relief from the tension or anxiety. So the drugs which are used for this purpose to control the anxiety or for the sleeping pills, for the sleeping purpose, such type of drugs come under the category of neurologically active drug. So the neurologically active drug is of two types. The first one is tranquilizer, that is tranquilizers. This is the first category. So the tranquilizers are defined as the drugs given to the patient suffering from anxiety and mental tension. So those who are suffering from the anxiety and the mental tension, we have given them to the drugs called the tranquilizer. The purpose of the tranquilizer is to reduce the anxiety or the stress and are employed for the treatment of the mental diseases. Such kind of a disease are also used to cure the mental diseases. So they are also called psychotherapeutic drugs. That is psychotherapeutic drugs. Tranquilizers are also called the psychotherapeutic drugs. They are common constituent of the sleeping pill. Almost all the sleeping pills contain the tranquilizer. One example, I have given you one example. There is a noradrenaline. So noradrenaline is one of the neurotransmitter which is present in our body, and it acts as a messenger, and this help in the mood change. when we changes our mood, the noradrenaline, it is a neurotransmitter, it is present inside our body, it is helpful for our mood change. In case it become deficient, for example, we have the deficiency of the noradrenaline, or it is not secreted properly inside our body, so when it become deficient due to certain any reason, then the person suffers from a commonly found disease today, that is known as the depression. When noradrenaline is not in appropriate amount in our body, so we suffer from the depression, and this is caused by the retardation in the signal sending capacity of the messenger. When it is not in the sufficient amount in our body, so it is a type of a messenger, it sends the messages. This noradrenaline, it is a neurotransmitter, act as a messenger. So this happens, depression happens, or is this caused by the retardation in the signal sending capacity of the messenger. It means when there is a any problem or any in the signal sending capacity of the noradrenaline, then we suffer from the depression. And in such cases, when we feel the depression, or anyone is suffering with the depression, so for that we use the drugs known as antidepressant drugs. For that purpose we use the antidepressant drugs. So there are two common antidepressant drugs. First one is iproniazid. This is one of the very important antidepressant drug. The structure for the iproniazid is, this is C, here double bond O, this one is NH, this is CH in the packet, that is CH3 whole 2. This is iproniazid. This is one of the very common antidepressant drug. And the second antidepressant drug is known as phenelzine. That is called phenelzine, and it is well popularly known as the Nardil. It is also known as the Nardil. So these two are the very common antidepressant drug. The structure for the Nardil is, this is the benzene ring, this is CH2, this is NH2, this is the Nardil. So these two are the very important antidepressant drugs which are well popularly known today. These tranquilizers also induces the sleep. That's why they are also known as hypnotics. Tranquilizers are also called hypnotics because these are the sleep inducing medicine. Now the second category of the neurologically active drug is known as analgesic drugs. So the analgesics may be defined as the chemical substances. These are the chemical substances which are used for relieving pain in the body by acting on the central nervous system. So these drugs act on our central nervous system and they are pain relieving. They are the pain relieving medicines. Analgesics are actually neurologically active pain killing drugs. They are neurologically active drugs, but they are the neurologically active pain killing drugs. They either reduce or abolish the pain. Either they reduce the pain or either they abolish the pain, but are not harmful. These are not harmful to our body. That is, they do not causes, the meaning of the harmful is they do not causes any mental confusion or any mental disorder. So the analgesics are of two types. The first one is narcotics. The first type of the analgesics are known as the narcotics. So the narcotic drugs are those drugs which produces sleep and unconsciousness. These produces sleep and unconsciousness. Most of the narcotics are the opium derivative. Mostly they are the opium derivative. They produces the sleep and unconsciousness. They produces the sleep and the unconsciousness. Consciousness. Sorry, they are the opium derivative. That's why they are mostly extracted from the poppy leaves. These are called the opiates because they are the opium derivative. That's why they are also called opiate. They are called the opiates, and they are highly effective analgesic. Narcotics are the category which are highly effective analgesics, means the pain relieving capacity. Their pain relieving capacity is very high. The one of the common narcotics is the morphine. Morphine. It is a very commonly used narcotic. It is used as an analgesic to give relief from pain in case of post-operative surgeries. When anyone goes through the surgery process, then we use the morphine as a pain relieving drug. In case of the cardiac pain, or also in case of the cancer patient, morphine is also introduced to the cancer patient when they go through any kind of the surgery. Second one of the narcotics is heroin. It is also another very common narcotic, that is the heroin. It is a very powerful analgesic, but the biggest disadvantage of these drugs is that this is the narcotics, all the narcotics, because they are the opium derivative. They induces the sleep and the unconsciousness. They are very highly effective, but they have a very important or very important disadvantage, and that is they both are, or all the narcotics are habit forming. They are habit forming. This is the biggest disadvantage of these narcotics. They are the habit forming, and one gets addicted to these narcotics. These are addiction. These create the addiction. Pain relieving. These are the pain relieving. They are very good pain relieving, but they are habit forming. They causes the addiction. So this is the one of the important disadvantage of the narcotics. Now the next type of analgesic is the non-narcotics. These are not as effective as the narcotics or as the opium derivative in the pain relieving, but these are not habit forming. These are not habit forming. These are not effective as the narcotics, but these are not habit forming, and these are preferred over the narcotics because these are not habit forming. That's why we prefer the non narcotics. So one of the example of the non narcotic is aspirin. Aspirin. It is chemically known as 2-aceto, that is ACE. This one is the 2-aceto oxybenzoic acid. Oxybenzoic acid, and is very commonly used analgesic and gives immediate relief in case of the body ache, when we are suffering from the body ache. So, and when we take the aspirin, it fastly relieves the pain. It fastly gives us relief, or it abolish or diminish the pain of our body. It is given to the heart patient. It is also has some harmful effect, but nowadays the aspirin is completely banned. Why it is completely banned? Because of its harmful effect, because it has a very very important harmful effect. When we take the aspirin, so it causes bleeding from the stomach wall and also lead to the gastric irritation. It When we take the aspirin, it causes the bleeding from our stomach wall, and it create the irritation in our body, gastric irritation. Actually what happened, the aspirin get hydrolyzed to form the salicylic acid. When it come in contact with water or inside our body, so it is converted into salicylic acid, which create problem. That salicylic acid, the formation of salicylic acid creates the problems. It should not be taken empty stomach. Few alternative of aspirin. Nowadays aspirin is completely banned, but we use the few alternatives of the aspirin, that are naproxen, that is ibuprofen, diclofenac of sodium and potassium. These are the alternatives of the aspirin, and the structure of the aspirin is, this is the benzene ring, this is COOH, and this one is OCOCH3. This is the structure for the aspirin. So aspirin is a type of a non-narcotic, but nowadays it is totally banned, because when we take the aspirin, when it is hydrolyzed inside our body and it is converted into the salicylic acid, which causes the bleeding from our stomach wall and the gastric irritation. And these are naproxen, ibuprofen, diclofenac of the sodium and the potassium. These are the alternative for the aspirin. Now the next category of the drug is antipyretics. So these are the chemical substances used to bring down the body temperature. So those chemicals which bring down our body temperature are known as the antipyretics, and we use these antipyretics in case of the high fever. So the administration of the antipyretics often leads to the perspiration, which help in bringing down the body temperature. Some common antipyretics are, one of the very very commonly used antipyretic is, that is called analgin, and one is paracetamol. This is the paracetamol. These two are the very commonly used antipyretics. So the structure for the paracetamol is, this is the benzene ring, here OH, here NHCOCH3. This one is the paracetamol. This is the structure for the paracetamol, and it is also known as, that is 4-acetamidophenol. Either you call it as a paracetamol, or either it is a 4-acetamidophenol. Now the next category of drug is called the anti-fertility drug. So we all are familiar with the population of our country as well as the population of the world. The increased population has caused many social problems in terms of the food resources, environmental issue, or any other, or there are so many problems related to the population. So to control the population, such types of drugs are used, or such type of drugs are required. Actually this has led to the concept of family planning. Such type of drugs are used in the concept of the family planning. Anti-fertility drugs are used in this direction. For the family planning, anti-fertility drugs are used, or to control the population, anti-fertility drugs are used. So birth control pills essentially contain drugs, mixture of synthetic estrogen and progesterone derivative. Birth control pills are a type of anti-fertility drugs which are prepared by synthetic estrogen and progesterone derivatives. Both of these compounds are the hormones. Estrogen is a hormone, progesterone is the hormone which is secreted inside our body. But here, for the anti-fertility drugs, we use synthetic estrogen. This is estrogen, estrogen and progesterone. This is synthetic estrogen and the progesterone. It is known that progesterone suppresses the ovulation inside the body. The function of the progesterone to suppress or to decrease the level of the ovulation or the process of the ovulation. Synthetic progesterone derivative are more potent than progesterone. When we synthesize the progesterone in the laboratories, so they are more effective in comparison to the progesterone which is secreted inside human body. So there is one example of the synthetic progesterone, and this is known as, that is, norethindrone. Norethindrone, it is a type of synthetic progesterone. It is the example of synthetic progesterone, and it is widely used as a anti-fertility drug. It is a synthetic progesterone and it is widely used as a anti-fertility drugs. The estrogen derivative, this one is the estrogen. The estrogen derivative which is used in the combination with the progesterone derivative. Actually, we have already discussed that birth control pills are the mixture of synthetic progesterone as well as the synthetic estrogen. So there is very common synthetic estrogen which is used with the combination of the progesterone, and this one is known as, this is called ethinyl. This is called ethinyl estradiol. Ethinyl estradiol, it is a type of a synthetic estrogen which is used with the combination of the synthetic progesterone to make the anti-fertility drugs. Now the last category of drug is known as the antimicrobials. The drugs or the chemicals, these are the drugs or the chemicals which destroy the microorganism such as the bacteria, viruses, fungi and other pathogens that are responsible for disease in the human being as well as in the animal. Such type of drugs are come under the category of the antimicrobials. Now there are three antimicrobials. In this chapter we have studied about the three antimicrobial. The first one is antibiotics. Second one is antiseptics, and the third one is disinfectants. So these are the three type of antimicrobial. Antimicrobial are used to destroy the growth of microorganism like the bacteria, fungi or any pathogen which causes disease either in the plant as well as in the animal. So Here our first topic is antibiotics. The first topic is antibiotics. So antibiotics are used as drugs to treat infection because of toxicity for both in the human being as well as in the plant. Initially when we started the discovery of the antibiotics, at that time antibiotics were classified as the chemical substances. They are regarded as the chemical substances produced by the microorganism. Microorganism means like bacteria, fungi, molds that inhibit or even destroy. They have a capacity. Antibiotics have a capacity to inhibit as well as to destroy the disease causing microorganism. But with the development of the synthetic method, when we use the various factories to synthesize the antibiotics, at that time the definition of antibiotics is changed. Now the antibiotic substances produce wholly or partially. They are wholly or partially by chemical synthesis, and in low concentration it inhibit the growth or destroy microorganism responsible for the diseases. Now the definition of antibiotic is they are the chemical substances. They are synthesized inside in the laboratory. The first type of the antimicrobial drugs, when we first time we introduced the when scientists have started the discovery or started the working on the antibiotics, that time they first introduce a medicine or a drug which is known as salvarsan. That is salvarsan. It is also known as artemisinin. Salvarsan, this is the first antimicrobial, or this is the first antibiotic. This is the first antibiotic discovered by the scientists, that is the salvarsan or artemisinin, which destroy a bacteria. This is used to destroy a bacteria, and the name of the bacteria is Spirocete, which is responsible for the disease, that is syphilis. This drug is used to destroy the bacteria Spirocete, which is used for a disease syphilis, and syphilis is a skin disease. It is a very common skin disease, and it does not have any adverse effect. The main advantage of this medicine is it does not have any adverse effect on the host. For the discovery of the salvarsan, the scientists got the Nobel Prize, because it doesn't have, and it is important for to cure the skin disease, and it doesn't have any side effect. For that the scientists got the Nobel Prize. Now the antibiotic can be classified according to their mode of action. It is classified into two categories. The first category is bactericidal, and the second category is bacteriostatic. This is bactericidal and this one is the bacteriostatic. The main difference between the that is bactericidal and the bacteriostatic is that these drugs kill the microorganism. The bactericidal drug have a capacity to kill the microorganism, whereas these drugs inhibit the growth of microorganism. This is the main difference between bactericidal and the bacteriostatic. So there are some example of the bactericidal, that is penicillin. This is a type of a bactericidal. It kills the microorganism. Of fluoxacin. This is another type of a bactericidal drug. Now the example for the bacteriostatic drug is, that is erythromycin, that is bacteriostatic drug. Tetracycline, that is bacteriostatic drug. Now there is a word called spectrum. The meaning of the spectrum is the range of bacteria or some other microorganism. It is the range. Spectrum here, the meaning of the spectrum is the range. The range of bacteria or some other microorganism which an antibiotic can attack is called the spectrum. So the spectrum, according to the spectrum or on the basis of the spectrum, the drugs are of two types. One is the broad spectrum antibiotic and another one is the narrow spectrum antibiotic. So many of the antibiotics are effective against the variety of organism. It means its area is broad. The antibiotics which are effective against the variety of organisms, these are called the broad spectrum antibiotics, and the example are the tetracycline, chloramphenicol, ofloxacin. These all are the broad spectrum antibiotics, and here this one is the narrow spectrum antibiotic. The meaning of the narrow spectrum antibiotic is the drugs which are used for the treatment of very few diseases. This is called the narrow spectrum antibiotic. So one common example for the, or one common type of a narrow spectrum antibiotic is the penicillin. The penicillin was discovered by the A. Fleming in 1929 from the mold Penicillium notatum. But nowadays the penicillin is banned because it have some adverse effect in the human body. Now the ampicillin, amoxicillin are the synthetic modification of the penicillin. Now the penicillin is a narrow spectrum antibiotic, but their alternatives such as the ampicillin, amoxicillin, these are the broad spectrum antibiotics. Now next two category of the antimicrobial is antiseptic and the disinfectant. Both are used to destroy or to prevent the growth of the microorganism or to kill the growth of the microorganism. The only difference between, or the main difference between the antiseptic and the disinfectant is that antiseptic is used in the living tissue, whereas the disinfectant is used in the non-living tissue. There are some example of the antiseptic, that is this is a very common example. One is the soframycin, furacin, and one of the common, very important and commonly popularly known example. So one of another popularly known example of the antiseptic is the Dettol. Dettol is a mixture of chloroxylenol and the terpineol. It is a very commonly used antiseptic, and beside the Dettol we use the iodine as an antiseptic. The mixture of iodine, that is the 2 to 3% solution of iodine in alcohol and the water mixture, which is known as the tincture of iodine. It is also used in case of the wounds or any injury. Iodoform is also used as an antiseptic. Even the boric acid is also used for the purpose of antiseptic purpose. Now the next is the disinfectant. As I have already told you that disinfectants are used to, these are the chemical substances which are used to kill the microorganism, but they are not safe for the living tissue. That's why we use the disinfectant in the non-living tissue, like in the drainage system, instrument, or the cleaning of the floor. The one of the very commonly used disinfectant is known as the phenol. But this phenol, this is a very good example. This phenol is used both as the antiseptic as well as the disinfectant. The only difference is of the concentration. For example, 0.2% solution of phenol is used as antiseptic. When we use a 0.2% solution of phenol, it is used as an antiseptic. When we use 1% solution of phenol, at that time it is used as a disinfectant. So this is the difference, how we use the phenol as a antiseptic and how we use the phenol as the disinfectant.